Hi everyone. So this is the partially an attempt to give a scientific definition of fascism, a proper 100% scientific definition of fascism, and we will give a definition of the definition, what it means, a proper scientific definition of the definition itself. And this is in part, as the name of the video suggests, it is the a partially reaction and was inspired by the inspired in a bad way, I should say, by the recent video of the very famous and talented left socialist video blogger, Second Thought, known as the J.T. Chapman. I'm talking about video, the new F word. New F word, part 1. This is, I assume, the first in many upcoming parts about fascism. So I watched it, and I was extremely disappointed by that video. This is not about bashing. I'm not gonna bash the guy. I highly respect his work, even though I live in Ukraine, and last few years I've been studying the left YouTube, and I really enjoyed this blogger. I think he's he's doing in general very good job in terms of propagandizing the socialist ideas in simple terms, accessible language towards as broad masses as possible. And I think that is his goal, is not to have too much depthness, is not to overcomplicate things, and just to make it a relatively simple, relatively superficial, so the common person, common man who is not Marxist or anything like that, so that person would get the main idea of what is socialism, right? So some very a gist, a superficial, simplistic, yet to give a gist about what is socialism, what is Marxism, and so on and so on. What is capitalism in general? What is exploitation? I understand, and if that is the goal, then fine, I guess. He's doing a good job. Again, I respect him very much. I like his videos, even though I think I'm theoretically infinitely much more prepared than him, and I give more in-depth things, at least here where I teach to people, in general. But here's the problem. It's okay to give only a gist, but if you, like in this video, like in this new video of his about fascism, he said that this is not based on any Marxism. This is in general not a Marxist based series of videos about fascism. This is, as he said, it is the, I quote, based on international comparative fascist studies, the so-called working definition with some humanism stuff, whatever. And here he lost me pretty much completely. So the whole video is kind of mishmash. It is the pile. It is a one big pile of everything that you can find on a fascism. It's just one huge pile of from liberalism, from liberal pseudo historians and good historians as well, to some Marxist traditional left wingers. Studies and the evaluations of fascism. So it's all together. It's all just thrown into this big pile, just of elements from everywhere. Very eclectic, and this is the problem. It is highly eclectic. First, second, it is not scientific. It is not objective. It is just a bunch of opinions. It is just opinions from everyone, which again, I'm not against people expressing their different opinions on fascism. I'm just, if you making a serious video, if you want to give the gist, you must give the real scientific gist, so you would not confuse people. You don't have to tell you everything, the whole history of fascism, like from the day one till now. You don't have to do that. And he completely failed here. This is just everything. It's all over the place, and it's just very, very bad in terms of explaining fascism. In this particular video, just to me, it sounds like fascism is everything bad, basically. Everything bad. The sociopathy, narcissism, delusion of grandeur, power hungry, everything. It's everything. So it's really nothing. Fascism is just conglomeration, just of everything bad about human political human activity. Just all at once. Just everything. So yes, this is quite bad. But I agree here, as his video suggests, it is a new F word. This is very good. He said that a new F word, a kind of new swearing, a swearing curse word that people use whenever they want, whenever they don't like someone or something. They use this word, and they devalue this word completely, pretty much. Like, if everything is fascist, then nothing is. Like, if you call everything from the Biden to from Genocide Joe to Putin to Xi Jinping to like Zelensky, whatever, you call everything that you don't like, that might be repressive, that might be authoritarian, whatever, you call it all fascist, then nothing is fascist. Everything is a fascist. And this is the situation, a kind of variation of the situation, like the saying goes, like that old, story about the boy who called wolves too many times, and when the wolves actually came, the actual wolves, right? No one believed him anymore. No one listened to him. No one cared about that he was screaming, "Wolves, here is wolves!" The real wolves are here. And this is the huge problem. The fascism as the phenomena, as the word, have been overused and and completely devalued into another curse word. It is something that almost means nothing anymore. Like totalitarianism, authoritarianism. You just call every regime, every leader, every party, every country that you don't like, that is different that acts differently from the regular classical liberal democracies of the West. You can call it fascist, and it devalues. Call it totalitarianism, and everything is totalitarianism, then it means nothing anymore. It's just meaningless garbage. And this is here's a good point in the beginning. That is the curse word, that it turned just into nothing. It's completely devalued, and this is the problem. And most of the definitions of the fascism all over the internet, and especially from the left-wingers, especially from the Marxist people, very smart, very talented Marxist people, that relates to them as well. Most of these definitions are either absolute garbage. They have nothing to do with the objective reality. They just some liberal positivist garbage and propagandist nonsense, to evaluate Stalinism with the Hitlerism as if it's the same. This kind of nonsense. Usually, this comes from liberals, but from the Marxists, from the left wingers, there is another problem: is to use mostly good old, very tired. I wouldn't say obsolete. I would never call it obsolete, but I would call it insufficient. It is a very insufficient, very old definition of fascism. That is, by the by the Georgi Dimitrov, a famous Georgi Dimitrov, and he is, fascism is the open terrorist dictatorship of the most reactionary, classes of financial capitalism, most chauvinistic, and stuff like that. You know that definition. And like I said, this definition is not useless. It is very, very, very useful. Very useful in application towards the 20th century fascism. And not every 20th century fascism, mostly towards the Germany, obviously where Dimitrov practiced, and Italy, Germany, Italy, Spain. This is the best, the ones that fit the best to this definition. Pinochetian, I think, would fit very well. But then there is a Hungary from roughly 1920s to 1946. Hungary of Miklos Horthy, for example, that type of fascist regime, and Portugal during the time of the Antonio Salazar, which fits only partially fits this definition of Georgi Dimitrov. And here we have a problem. But we know that for sure that these regimes that both Portugal during the Salazar and the Hungary, at least many people think that Miklos Horthy, Miklos, I don't know how to pronounce him, but the ruler during the Kingdom of Hungary, roughly until 1946, that these regimes are kind of fascist as well. That they are mostly a fascist. They fit in our understanding, in our imagination. We kind of got used to call it a fascist regimes as well. Even though if you apply this definition of the Dimitrov, it fits only partially, not even in half percent. And here we have a problem. Right? Already we have a problem. This definition, which by the way is not really, it is not really a definition of Georgi Dimitrov. It is the partially as well. It is a partially Dimitrov's definition. It is first been coined. Most of it was coined by the Otto Wilhelm Kuusinen. If you spell it in Russian, Otto Wilhelm Kuusinen. That is the famous Russian/Finnish Bolshevik politician, historian, and in general very very important, very famous figure. And so you should know this definition was first coined by him, by Otto Kuusinen, during the I think at the during the 13th plenum of the executive committee of the Communist International, at the 13th plenum. Yes, that was a report of the Kuusinen. And based on this report, Dimitrov took his report and extended, improved this definition of the fascism, and presented this like it's a collective work. So this is not correct to call it a Dimitrov's definition. It is the Kuusinen / Dimitrov. That would be correct. So keep that in mind, because this is often recycled, and unfortunately many people don't look at this actually who made this definition. They say, oh, Georgi Dimitrov, we got used to it, but actually verifying it and you find out that Dimitrov just one of the few dudes. The first one was this Finnish Bolshevik one. So yes, definition of the Dimitrov is useful. Yes, it is useful to understand most of the 20th century fascisms, most of them. But if we talk about the, let's say, if fascism is coming to power right now in the world, let's say Trumpism, the easiest one. When people try to understand Trumpism, they are confused because they take this definition of the Dimitrov and they try to fit Trump and Trumpist movement. They try to fit all of these new right-wing parties of the Europe, Viktor Orban, Putin's regime at least since 2014, because Putin's regime also changed drastically during his 20 years rule. And so they take these phenomena of the 21st century, these authoritarian regimes, try to fit them into Dimitrov's, and something doesn't fit. It just does not fit really. And then there is a speculations. There are lots of speculations to the point when they call, neither Trump, neither Putin have nothing to do with the fascism at all. This is just ultra conservatives, just regular tyrants, whatever. So here we have a problem. We don't really have a real scientific definition of this phenomena, of this social phenomena, and there is plenty of speculation, a lot of speculation. So how do we fix this? Well, we fix this by, first of all, find out what is the definition of the definition. What that actually means to have a definition of something, scientific definition, not negotiable by a bunch of people about which one they like more. Like in the case with fascism, like I like this definition of fascism, I'm gonna use this one, or I like this one. No, this is not the science. This is a garbage. This is the hard garbage. So, first of all, we need a definition of the definition. And throughout the whole video of this, I'm gonna use the Hegel's teaching of the Hegel, his science of logic, Hegelian's dialectics. In general, it's called the science of logic, nauka logiki, if you in Russian, because I studied Russian in Ukrainian languages, so I'm gonna translate some of this stuff from Hegel. I'm gonna translate it from the Russian into English and give you some scientific stuff. As you know, the Hegel was very important, extremely important. It is on basis of his dialectics, which Marx and Engels put on the materialist basis. They made it materialistic. They replaced the spirit stuff, if you remember that, right? And made it the part of their own, of the dialectical materialism. and I'm going to use straight from the Hegel's Science of Logic and his definition of the definition. Okay, and I'm gonna read right now, first of all, what is definition, and all of this stuff, all of this crazy shit that I'm gonna say right now. I'm gonna write it down under the spoiler, and I'm gonna give some links if necessary, so you might go and try to understand it yourself, because this is kind of stuff that you just have to just take forward. If you've never been into Hegel and his Science of Logic, then you're not gonna probably understand from the first attempt what I mean by that. So you have to go and do it yourself. This is like the homework. All right. Yeah. This is it. So what is a definition by Hegel? Definition, it's a quality that inherent or intrinsic to a phenomena throughout its whole development / existence, life, whatever, and is determined through negation of its own negation. Okay? Negation of its own negation. This is sounds bizarre. Yes, if you first time, I tried to put it into more kind of understandable terms, because in original it's maybe more crazier. I tried to give it like in this kind of more accessible to regular people, but again you have to do it yourself. So definition, or the notion, the понятие, this is the unity of being, and essence. That is the result of the interaction of internal negation and negation of its own negation, which is inherent in every phenomena of the material world. And this is the synthesis of thesis and antithesis. Okay? Yes. No, this is crazy. Hegelian stuff quite might sound and might look very crazy, complicated for the people who obviously never studied it. And in the first attempt, you might get problem with it. But trust me, this is worth it. Studying the whole books of the Hegel, worth it. The Science of Logic, I mean, that is the stuff that is worth it. Yes, it is a lot of time, and depends if you have a good teachers or not. Well, how lucky you are. It will play a huge role, but it's worth it, because it will teach you a proper scientific, proper objective worldview evaluation. It gives you the instrument to evaluate the world around you, to understand it. And of course it is a huge part, like undeniable, indistinguishable from the dialectical materialism. So if you are the left-winger, if you truly scientist, like the into social sciences, right, social philosopher, then you must know this stuff. If you consider yourself a scientist, then you must know this stuff, like for sure, and to understand the fascism, to recognize fascism on the spot. Okay. You must understand the Hegelian logic, dialectics. It is extremely important. Without this, you're gonna be just, fall from one definition of this or that social phenomena like fascism into another. You're gonna be tricked very easily. No matter how many books you read, no matter how many world experts on fascism, all of this garbage, all of this liberal positivist garbage, idealistic positivist dog shit you read, it's not gonna help you. But the Hegelian logic, and of course in the whole context of dialectical materialism, will help you to develop the immunity against stupidity, against pseudoscience, right? Not wasting time watching another 1,000 video about fascism, but because you will be able to recognize it yourself. Okay, this is why it's important. So I'm not wasting your time here at all. I'm trying to make it simpler, but you have to do your own homework if you're really into that. If you're really into that. So this is I gave you definition. I gave you the Hegelian scientific definition of notion of the definition itself. Okay. So what definition is not? And this is the mistake that most of the people who try to understand fascism make. They try to name a bunch of features, attributes, a science, a set of features, attributes, signs of this or that phenomena, like in fascism. For example, fascism is when, anti-Semitism. Fascism is when the repressions. Fascism is when imperialism. Fascism is when hate towards women, homosexuals, towards communists, socialists. This is fascism. This is they name, they list. They just list a bunch of a set of features, attributes. That's all. That's all, and that is completely useless, because if you look at for example, Nazi Germany, right? The easiest example, like you have a heavy anti-Semitism, but even during Nazi Germany, in the first, the beginning of the rule of the Nazis, even anti-Semitism itself was not the same. At first, it was just considering the Jews like a subhuman, a third-rate human, like Slavic, I'm a Slavic person, I'm Ukrainian, so similar, like they treated us. First, it was a light kind of anti-Semitism. Then they, banned them. Then they tried to throw them out of the country, into some land far away from Germany, whatever. And then they decided, as the final stage of this evolution of anti-Semitism, they decided to let's just physically eliminate every Jew, exterminate them in these special places, right? So even inside of Germany, the same feature, the attribute, the sign of this, that's often mentioned by the so-called liberal pseudo-historians, positivists. Even this changed drastically from the beginning of the rule of the Nazi towards its end. Seriously changed from the light to heavy anti-Semitism. And if you take, for example, the Mussolini, the Italian, anti-Semitism almost non-existent. Later they kind of adopted, because I'd assume pressure from Nazi Germany, but it was not present really. They didn't really care about that. That was not really that important to them, to the fascist Italy. There was no anti-Semitism in the Spain. No anti-Semitism in the Pinochetian regime, Chile, and so on and so on and so on. And here's a Trump. Here is a Trump that vehemently defends Israel and calls people anti-Semites. anyone who tries to protect Palestinians, they be called, anti-Semites, and he brings in one of his propagandist videos, on his channel YouTube, he brings the survival of Holocaust, the Jew. And the Jew says, I would never call Mr. Trump a fascist or Nazi. How is that possible? So, and some people at this point say, okay, that's obviously the proof that Trump is not the fascist, because here is the Jew guy who survived the Holocaust calls the Trump is okay. The Trump is not a fascist. And it confuses people. It seriously confuses people. And this is why it's so-called definitions, quote-unquote definitions, pseudo-scientific, pseudo-definitions. They don't reveal the essence of the phenomena, as we talk fascism, fascist phenomena. They don't reveal the true essence. They don't show the true quality or qualities of this phenomena. Okay, and the quality is what important, is what defines the truly phenomena. They just fall on this, definition based on the set of bunch of the usual external features, attributes, signs, and that usually just ends up very, very badly. It gives nothing really. It gives you nothing. It still leaves you absolutely with nothing. You just have a bunch of superficial stuff that is not going to help you to identify fascists. This is not the definition. This is not the scientific and Hegelian definition of the notion is what it is the quality. You should look for the quality inherent, intrinsic to a phenomena throughout its whole process, throughout the period of the whole period of development, existence, from the birth till the end of this phenomena. Okay, as I said, the quality or qualities or multiple qualities. This is what it is. This is what definition. And if you look at the Georgi Dimitrov definition, it is, the problem with this definition, like I said, it's not that it's worthless. It is first attempt to give a scientific definition of the first world phenomena of fascism that is came to power. It's very important, but it's very, very insufficient, and because it is static, right? It is a static, frozen in time. It mechanistically used, mechanistically applied from the 20th century, from these really existed fascist regimes towards our days, our times, without dialectics, without looking for the evolution, mutation of the, first of all, fascism as the ideology, and the countries in general, because it's very important. The countries of liberal democracies in general. So these pseudo definitions give you nothing, but the Dimitrov definition is not sufficient. We must add, we must extend it to be sure that we know what is fascism, what is the just conservatism, or just some power-hungry idiot wants to rule, whatever. So this static 20th century definition is not sufficient. Okay, so I want to I want to restate that it's useful, very useful, absolutely useful, but not sufficient even for the 20th century regimes like I said, the Salazar, Portugal, and the regent of Hungary, Miklos Horthy. I give you also I just feel life example, just very simple life example, why these not Hegelian definitions, why the feature attribute signs type of the definitions, they are not gonna help you, even with different phenomena that are not fascist. Very simple, very simple example. For example, our sun, for example. You know, the sun. What is that? It is a yellow dwarf star, right? The star. Yellow dwarf. And sooner or later, it will turn into nova. It will explode, right? And then, after going out, it will glow faintly for some time. Glow faintly for some time, and for some time in the form of a white dwarf, right? At least this is what scientists say. Well, based on the observations of the space, it will glow faintly for some time in the form of the white dwarf. So what we see that in all three cases, we see very different signs. We see very different attributes, but still we know that, well, despite having on three stages, it has a very different signs. And still we know that it is the star, right? All three states are the star, the sun. We definitely know that. But the signs are very radically different. And yet we know that that all of these three states, it's still a star, the sun. It's very simple. It is very simple kind of example, just to give a point across. So if, for example, the people who analyze the fascism, who base their, the definitions of something, life phenomena, whether it's social or just any other life phenomena, and if they just look at these features of the sun during the three stages of its existence, they will say, oh, but it's no longer a sun, it's something else, it's just completely something else. Well, I think scientists would disagree with you. They would say that, yeah, it is, all of that is the star, and it is a sun, our star sun. Another simpler example, it's like one of the comrades said, the apples, for example. Take the apples. For example, there is sorts, the different sorts of apples, like red delicious, for example, a variety of apple, and some popular in here in our areas, the apple Antonovka. The two varieties of the apple, and they have very different color, quite different shape, very different usually shape. The size is different. One is tasty, the sweet have a very sweet taste. Another, it has a very bitter taste. One has roughly 5% of vitamin C, and another have like 15 or something like that, 15% of vitamin C. All of these features of the two varieties of apple. And if I told you, if you didn't know about that this is the apples, and if I just mentioned to you, if I just listed you a bunch of these signs of this product, of this fruit and say, here I have two fruits, and I mention these features, attributes of theirs, the taste, the size, different sizes, quite different sizes, and the shape, very different shape, and you probably said that, well, definitely it's not an apple. Most people say that, oh, it's not an apple, it's something different. Two different sorts of different varieties of fruits, but not the apple. But we know that both Antonovka and both Red Delicious are both apples, 100% apples. We know that for sure. We know that absolutely 100% that both are apples. So again, this is to show you that the definition of something based on these criteria, on these usually sometimes just external set of the features, attributes, signs, is not gonna give you anything. It's not gonna give you any definitions, any concrete, specific understanding of the phenomena or the object in front of you. And that applies not just to, like I said, the sun, the apples, fruits, vegetables, whatever. It applies to the social phenomena. It's very, very useful to use the truly scientific definition, to not be fooled by all of these things that I just mentioned, that the features, attributes dialectically, because they don't reveal the true essence of this product, of the phenomena, of the object. And we need to get to the core of the fascism. What is the fascism? So I'm gonna use this Hegelian definition to apply to not just some of 20th century, but the 21st century, including Trumpism and other ultra-right regimes like Putin's regime, for example, or Orban. Viktor Orban might apply to that, but mostly to the it's a Trumpism that is most interesting, and I'm gonna just talk about that right now.